Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of imPOWERED, presented by Cancer Warrior Canada Foundation. I'm Rebecca Durant-Tyne, your host for this evening, also an actor, model, teacher, and founder of Arenda Cancer Community and blog. As always, I want to encourage you to participate in tonight's discussion by posting any comments or questions that you might have down below. And if we do get any questions in during the show, we'll save a few minutes at the end to answer those as they come in. Our empowered guest tonight is physiotherapist and personal trainer Anish Sharma. Anish has a master's of physiotherapy, a bachelor of science, specialized honors in kinesiology, a diploma in massage therapy, and certifications in personal training, acupuncture, and functional capacity evaluation. In his practice, he combines his clinical experience with up-to-date research to ensure each patient is provided education and treatments that enhance their psychosocial, emotional, and physical well-being. He also has experience working with breast cancer patients during their recovery from surgery to help them maximize their healing and elevate their quality of life post-treatment. Welcome, Anish, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get into it and start with a little bit of background information about yourself. Can you tell people a little about your background and how you came to be interested in physiotherapy, and why are you so passionate about physical well-being?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, I kind of wanted to be a physio from a long time ago, especially ever since I was young, and it's partly due to a incident that happened when we were young in terms of a car accident involving my mom. So she literally went through a lot of physiotherapy and rehab,
Wow.
and we saw all healthcare professionals come through, and the one that stood out to me the most, that actually I saw like physical changes, and I
Right.
mean helping her walk, helping her get back to regular activity, and doing regular arm movements and leg movements, was the physio. So I'm just like, if we can help change someone's life and you can physically see it and make them more able, that's a huge deal. And that kind of stuck with me, and I've been just constantly pursuing that, like you mentioned before, doing starting off with personal training, then going into kinesiology, to massage therapy, physiotherapy, and just continuing to grow and get as much tools under my belt as possible to help my
Yeah, you have quite a list
patients.
of tools. When I was reading,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
there's never enough. There's never
never.
enough.
No, and that's so wonderful, right? I think it's really important to keep learning, as
Yeah.
we go along in life. Yeah, because there's probably always new stuff coming along, I would imagine.
There's
Yeah, tools
always
to
things
add.
to keep up to date with, and if
Yeah.
you're not keeping up to date, then you're not doing justice to your patients.
That's right. That's so true. And it's really wonderful to hear you say that, because I feel like some healthcare professionals sometimes, I mean, it's easy. You get stuck in a rut and then, you get used to what you're doing. And yeah, it
Well,
happens.
the main thing as a health professional is to sometimes accept that you don't know something and actually put an active effort into
Right.
actually finding out and advancing yourself rather than
Yes.
just ignoring it. So
Very
it's always in
true.
best interest. So I was always built up into this, and and I'm doing what I love, and I'm
That's great.
seeing the results. I'm able to help people change their lives, even if it's small or it's a big,
Yeah.
So it ranges in all directions. But the main thing is you love what you do, and that's what I like to
Right.
do. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. That's really great to hear. So, for anyone who maybe isn't familiar with physiotherapy, what is physiotherapy and how can it play a role in cancer treatment and recovery?
Well, physio encompasses a lot of things, such as like we deal with both physical, emotional, psychological states. We combine all those things together,
Right.
and we help basically get function back to the patient. So it's not about just bending and extending the arm.
Right.
It's about actually being able to pick up the pot and actually do a whole movement
Right.
and cook or clean or do your bike riding and have the strength and the capacity and the mobility. So it's just about getting into activity. We're all about motion, motion, motion,
That's
motion,
great.
getting you moving again, because that is life,
Yes,
movement.
that is. Yeah, and quality of life is something that, particularly cancer patients talk about a lot, because we go through a lot of things that really heavily affect our quality of life, and movement and being able to move is a really big part of that, because if you're in
Yeah,
pain, you can't move. And you make a really good point, even just like everyday activities like picking stuff up, stirring the pot, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the main thing is we often see physios as just just doing measuring devices
Right.
and getting the ranges of motion and getting the strength. But the real physio is actually getting you back to the activity, setting goals with you to attain something. For
Wonderful.
example, if your goal is to once again throw a ball
Yeah.
again with your son or daughter, or go for a bike ride but your back pain is limiting you, or go for a 5K run because your foot is hurting. It's building up on that. We teach about pain management, we teach about strengthening, stretching, lengthening, and
Yeah.
bringing your body to a balance. And we look at all the nervous system, musculoskeletal system, everything, and keep it, do the best we can.
Right. And that's
Mm,
so important too. I think it's really great that you kind of, especially what you say about like setting goals and things like that, because there's that psychological aspect to it.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and recovery can be really difficult sometimes because of that psychological aspect. So that's
Yeah,
really great. It's kind of like a holistic, yeah, like
it's
whole
always
person.
holistic approach. It's never just about, oh, your shoulders just moving this
Right.
much. Okay, we just need to get at this. No.
Yeah.
How does it affect the patient? How does it affect the person in terms of their functioning in life?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great to hear that that's yeah considered the whole person. That's wonderful.
Mm,
So on your Instagram page, and you already mentioned it once, but you talk about movement and movement being medicine. So I think that's just I've never actually heard that before, like movement as medicine, and I think that's just a really lovely sentiment. And
yeah.
what does movement as medicine mean to you?
Well, movement is life,
Mhm.
right? If you well, if you consider a non-living thing, what does it do? It doesn't move. It's just there. And when you start
Right.
moving, it changes your emotional well-being, physical well-being, um, and improves your physical capacity, and emotionally as well. Like you feel better when you move. Like when
Right.
just take for example, like if you're having a down day, why you're having a down day, what do you tend to do? You tend to
Mhm.
seclude yourself,
True.
not move, sit down in one area, and those things just build up. Once you start incorporating any sort of exercise or anything, especially after operations or going
Right.
through a procedure, you having the capacity to move, it's medicine in itself. It releases endorphins within
True.
physiologically as well to make
Hmm.
you feel better. But emotionally, people are often very scarred. Be like, I'm going through this treatment, even for cancer or
Yeah.
whether any sort of surgery.
Yeah.
You're going through something, and then you're like, oh, will I be able to pick up my kid again?
Right.
Will I be able to, fix my car, work on my car by myself?
Right.
Or will I be able to pick something off the ground? And you always have this fear. But as I treat patients, I see like their views change. Like as soon as they start getting movement back and you start moving their arm and you start giving them some strength and some strengthening exercise, and they can realize their potential. No, I can recover from this. That is medicine in itself.
Yes.
If
It's
you
so helpful.
believe in something, you will achieve it.
That's
If you
right.
perceive something, it's reflective of that.
Yes. And we all, I mean, it's stereotypical to say in a cancer journey, but we say all the time, like hope is so important and positivity is so important. And if you are feeling, yeah, like I'm never going to get back to normal, I would feel like it'd be much harder to heal because
Oh, 100%.
yeah, there's that psychological element. So that's really interesting.
And that's where movement affects you a lot.
Yeah,
Like
it
if you just
does.
get up and go for a nice fresh walk outside, you feel so much better.
So
We've
much better.
all been in this situation with COVID right now.
Oh
We
my
were
god.
locked up. That is movement as well.
Yeah,
Like you're locked up in a space, and then when you go outside, why do you go outside? To feel good.
to
It's
feel
just
good.
movement. It's
It's
built in
really
our to a
true.
body.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's
That's
why it's like the biggest medicine.
yes. And like now that I think about it, I heard the advice from many women who had gone through cancer before me saying like, make sure that when on the days you feel good that you go for a walk or you do some sort of activity because it'll just make you feel better.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, there's so many
absolutely.
side effects to cancer treatment,
Yeah.
as you guys know,
Yeah.
more than me because you've actually experienced it.
Mhm.
So you can relate to this quite a bit, and it's all about doing things in moderation
Yes.
to 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 help you feel better. Because you
Yeah,
feel better, your body's going to respond better.
that's
How you
right.
feel mentally is how you're going to feel. physically as well.
So true. Yeah, that was huge for me in this whole process, was really learning about the mind body connection, and that there really is one.
Oh
Yeah, and
yeah,
that it really affects our physical health, how we're, yeah, what our mental state is like. That's
yeah.
very interesting. Yeah. So we are made, well aware a lot of the physical effects of breast cancer and breast cancer treatment. We're kind of prepared for it, but we don't really talk that much about how it could affect our musculoskeletal system. And aside from like, oh, you might want to, do these stretches after your surgery. So, what are those musculoskeletal side effects of breast cancer and surgery treatment, and how can physiotherapy help with them?
Well, like you said, you just mentioned in terms of stretching and stuff, that's very
Hmm.
generic, but there are
Yeah.
many, many things that happen. Just to list a few, it could be just to, you having any shoulder. So, for example, shoulder issues. Um, Surgery in itself in any area, it doesn't have to be in the shoulder. It could be in the hip, knee, ankle, anywhere. When
Right.
you have a surgery, it's an invasive technique, and it
Yes.
affects the functioning of everything. You're literally you can just imagine on yourself, like when we get a paper cut, we tend to even not use our hand.
That's right.
And here you're getting
So
a huge
true.
surgery done. It's massive,
True.
and it alters your function. So uh, uh, I'm going to take your shoulder, for example, your glenohumeral joint, so your shoulder joint.
Hmm.
Basically, you can get impairments on that
Yeah.
as a result of the procedures. You can get rotator cuff injuries. Now, rotator cuffs are a group of muscles for your shoulder that are
Hmm.
responsible for turning in and out, lifting up and down, and doing those types of movements. You can get reduction in mobility, so you won't be able to lift up your arm as much,
Right.
right? Or you'll be stiff, or you'll be. It could be partially due to pain as well,
That's
pain of
true.
fear of movement,
Right.
right? You can get additional things such as frozen shoulder as a result of surgery as well,
Yeah.
or even treatment in itself, right?
That's right.
And you can also get post-operative after surgery. You can get into positions where you can get stuck. For example, in a protective way. Usually,
Mm,
whenever we have any shoulder
right.
injuries, we tend to protect our arm. We
Right.
go like this,
Yeah. Hold it up.
hold it up, internal
It is.
rotation, and hold it close to your body. That's what we
Yeah.
feel. Whenever we were scared, what do? We
That's
go
true.
inward. So we get it stuck into the situation. But
Yeah.
for example, physiotherapy will help you get that range back, because even for treatment itself, for like radiation, for people who
Yeah. That's
undergo it,
right.
you have to go and hold this position for like 30
Mhm.
minutes.
Yeah, you do.
Now, after surgery, if you're like this, how are you going to get the treatment?
That's true.
So getting that back, we do we try and get rid of the muscle stiffness as a result of
Yes.
that, neck pain as a result of altered use as well. Because
Hmm.
whenever you have any problem with your shoulder functioning, what do you tend to do? Instead of lift and reaching like this, you end up lifting like this.
Like this. So you're actually making it worse, I guess,
Well,
by doing it that way.
your body's very smart. We tend to avoid pain.
Mhm. Yes.
And instead of causing you pain, you're gonna feel stretch and pain when lifting your arm like this. We
Right.
use our neck muscles to lift up. Now, this
Hmm.
as a result can cause you headaches, neck
Of
pain,
course.
because all these muscles that attach to here go into your head.
That's right. It's all
And
connected, right?
it's all connected. It's
Yeah.
not just like we can't. That's why we have to see the body as a whole. We
Yes.
can't do, oh, we are just treating one part.
This
We have
part.
to treat the whole person. Like I
That's
said,
very
it's
true.
emotionally,
Yeah.
physically, as is all connected. Um, Now, you can also have, as I mentioned, um, musculoskeletal issues arise, such as like altered movement patterns because of pain. So just like
Right.
this, or you're just fearful of not moving, and a
Hmm.
result of that, you like I mentioned at the beginning, you'll be scared to pick up things, or you'll be scared to even think like, oh, can I do this again? Will it
Right.
injure myself? So you avoid those things, and that's why that's where the physio comes in and does
Right.
all of that stuff, right? And basically you can also have nerve damage after surgery,
Yeah.
or even therapy itself, and
Right.
which can cause altered function of your shoulder blades. So shoulder blades,
Mm, interesting.
the thing at the back, it
Yeah.
can be sticking out as well,
Oh,
and it's called scapular winging, and those things can arise as well. It's all basically fixed up with strengthening, and stretching and getting your mobility back, right?
Yes. So
So there's many,
interesting.
those are just a few things you can get.
Yeah.
One thing I'll mention one more. So
Yeah.
lymphedema, a lot of you were
Yes.
mentioning before the video.
Yeah. We
Um,
were.
as a result of lymphedema itself, like your arm can weigh a lot more.
Right. That's so true. I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm.
Your arm can weigh a lot more, and that happens to patients as well. And as a result of the increased weight in arm, it kind of pulls on your shoulder and can
Right.
cause um, uh, altered movement patterns, and it can cause weaknesses in your
Right.
shoulder and rotator cuff muscles as well. Altered functioning that can cause pain too. So we have to factor all those things into
Yeah.
consideration. That's where physio comes in to help
Right.
with all those things. What's
That's
tight,
so
stretch
interesting.
it. What's weak, strengthen it.
Strengthen it.
Get the motion back. That's it.
Yeah. Back in balance. This is just because you mentioned nerve damage. Can physio help with nerve damage as well, or is it just something that you have to be cognizant of while you're doing the physio work?
Well, we can't basically grow the nerve. That's your
Yeah, of
body's response in
course.
itself. And when you do have nerve damage, it depends on the severity of it.
Right.
If it ever going to come back, or if it's if it does regenerate, it's
Right.
very slow rate. It's
Yeah.
not like how bone does or how muscles recover.
Muscle.
It has its own rate of growth.
Hmm.
And but what we do is trying to sometimes some muscles are innervated by um, different nerves that can supply to the area as well. So you can use different strengthening techniques and also use other muscles to complete the task as well.
Right.
So if even if it's complete nerve damage, we can always
Right.
use other muscle strengthening to
Got
help
it. Get
achieve the
around it.
goal of the patient.
I see. I see. Okay, that's really interesting.
So there's
Um,
modification.
yeah. Pardon me?
Yeah, modification in terms of your
Right.
approach.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Um, so we talked about this a little bit, but like I remember after my surgery, I was as you said, like scared of the air. Like I was scared to move it. I was scared to, and like they had given me stretches and things, and I did them for a while, but then I wasn't as good about them. It is our instinct to want to, like you said, protect that area. But from what you're saying, it sounds like that's the opposite of what we should be doing. So why is it so important to push ourselves to get up and get moving after a surgery in particular?
So it's not so much of pushing yourself. I mean, you want to use that word very carefully in terms
Carefully.
of it's not like overdoing things.
Right.
It's about gradually building up into
Okay.
activity. Um, Extremes of everything is bad. Too
Yeah,
much of
it's
something
true.
is bad,
Not
and
enough.
too much of something is
Yeah,
bad as well. If you drink too much water, you can have issues, and if you drink
true.
too less water, that's an issue in itself.
Exactly.
Moderation is key to life,
Hmm.
to everything in life.
So true.
Moderation is key. But in terms of getting up and moving, it's very, very important after surgery or anything like that, or any invasive technique.
Yeah.
When we tend to protect ourselves, so we we can we can start getting complications in our body. We can start developing chest complications because we don't
Hmm.
take enough deep breaths,
Oh,
right? And that can
yeah.
cause you to have like things such as pneumonia or anything like that
So
that can
interesting. Didn't
develop
know
as a
that.
result of that too.
Oh wow.
Um, you can start getting fluid buildup in your chest.
Yeah.
So deep breathing right after surgeries are very important. Getting up and moving. That's why we need air. If you notice,
Yeah.
like after any surgery on your chest or anything, we physios always go in and we teach you breathing exercises,
Breathing.
deep breathing exercises, just to get everything down and moving again,
Right.
right? It gives you more energy that way as well. The other things, it can be, if you don't move your limb, you can go into, again, like I mentioned before, stuck positions. So you can
Right.
get frozen shoulder. Then the longer you wait to move, the stiffer you get.
True.
And the harder it is
Harder.
later on to get that mobility back. You have to
Yes.
work so much harder. So
Very
it's always
frustrating.
best to just do gentle ranges of motion, gentle
Yeah.
movements. There's various exercises. That's like a whole video on
A
itself.
whole thing. Yeah.
But gentle mobility exercises, just even after your procedure, we encourage that. We come to you and we do all these things. But if you don't do that stuff, your recovery is hindered even more. Yes,
Right.
your pain, you won't be in pain because you're not moving, but
Hmm.
consider, always consider what you're going to be facing afterwards if you don't
That's
move
very
now,
true. That's very
right?
true. Yeah.
Then you're going to be limited. Sure, the pain's gone, but you won't be able to wash your hair.
Wash your hair.
You
Yeah,
won't be
that's
able to
true.
put on a shirt from the up
No,
top,
you have a different
scooting
kind of pain.
through, reaching behind, scratching your, putting up a bra, scratching your back,
Right.
things like that. It's
So hard.
all these things you have to do your movement, but how you do it, you have to build it up slowly.
Mhm.
In terms of activity, it's the American College of Sports Medicine. They recommend for average individual to do like around 130 minutes, I believe, of exercise per week. So about 3 days a week,
Yeah.
and that at the beginning for you is quite a bit. We
Yeah,
would
it's a lot.
probably do less than that, right? Pushing yourself to a level, we have a rate of perceived exertion scale. So is modified. So 0 being no exertion
Right.
and 10 being like you are working your hardest, you're giving all your best.
Yeah.
What you guys should be doing after chemotherapy, 2 to 3 hours, even after that, you should never push more than a 7 out
Okay.
of 10. You got to stick around that area,
Right.
and even less if possible. You stick
Right.
around 5, 6. That means you're just giving moderate amount.
Yes.
Again, like I said, moderation is key.
Moderation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Absolutely. Because um I imagine some people, don't want to. They kind of want to protect their body and all of that as well. And like you said, too little of something is not good, but too much as well. Because I think also some people have the mentality that they just kind of want to get back to normal as fast as possible.
and that's something harms them as well.
Right.
You end up damaging yourself quite a bit, especially when you have such invasive treatment
Procedures. Yeah.
procedures. There's so many side effects of radiation,
Yeah.
chemotherapy. Your body is recovering from that, and
So,
you pushing and overloading it in itself can cause harm as well, because
so true.
you're not at that point, you are
Right.
not what you were before,
Right.
right? And you
Yeah.
have to build up to that. You're
Right.
weaker, but
Yeah.
you will get stronger.
Yes.
It's not the end state.
Not
You always
forever.
get better. And exactly, not it's not forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I think that's hard to keep in mind because you're like, "Oh, I just want my life to go back to normal." Because
Exactly.
especially with cancer, you're dealing with, or even like a big injury or a car accident or something. You are dealing with a lot, and you just kind of want to get back to normal. But it's a good point you make about really thinking about the long term. And I would think working with someone like yourself would be very good for that, and and reassuring that you will get back to the way that you were, having someone there being like, you can do it, but just not yet,
Yeah, I tell people all the time when they come for any sort of treatment, when they leave right after the treatment, after the
Mhm.
first 1 or 2 sessions, I tell them, I'm like, you may experience what I call a honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
So where you think if you're doing good and you're feeling good, and you think you can go back to the regular activities that you
Yeah.
did before, it's too early. Take a break. Keep with your exercises. Don't do
Yes.
anything more.
Yeah.
Because you again, like with movement, with any sort of therapy, you're like, no, I want to get back more, faster, faster,
Yeah.
faster. If you push
Yeah.
yourself too much, it just like, instead of like people that come like with sports injuries,
Mhm.
okay, and they're like, oh, I want to get back to
Right. Yeah.
sport right away. I got a game next week, but no, you are injured. If
Yeah.
you go back, play that game, you're going to be off for the rest of the season.
That's right. That's so true.
Would you be off for one game or for the rest of the season?
Yeah,
It's
or
in your
10.
hands.
So true.
Same analogy applies to regular treatments as
Life.
well.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to be in pain for the rest of your life, or do you want to take it nice and slow and
Yeah.
get back to regular activity?
Regular
Yes,
activity.
it's a longer process, but you'll get better. You'll get
Yeah.
there eventually.
You will. Yeah, I hurt my wrist not too long ago, and I did that exact thing. I was after a week, I was like, oh, I want to work out again, and
Yeah.
I was like, it feels good, it feels okay, I can move it, and yeah, I should not, I should not have. And then I ended up having to take
If
another break for like 2 weeks because overdid it.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's an excellent point that you make. Yeah. So we may have already touched on it, but what's the most important thing to keep in mind when we're starting physical rehabilitation after surgery or injury, if it's not something that we've gone through before? Is there something that's important to keep in mind?
Yeah, for sure. Like some of the things that we have mentioned already.
Yeah.
You want to, uh, it takes time. Okay, it takes
Yeah.
persistence. um, you need to be compliant to your exercises. You need to stick to your exercise programs. You need to not just exercise in terms of guidance from all medical health professionals. You need to, if you stick to the advice that they're providing, they have experience in
Yeah.
terms of what they're dealing with,
That's right.
and they're only telling you to make your transitions as smooth as possible,
Right.
right? Um, and when you're starting physio, like again, don't push yourself. Slow and steady wins the race.
Wins
Somebody
the race.
mentioned that in the
Yeah,
comment just
someone
now.
commented that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good mentality. There are times where you have to push. Like I push my patients sometimes as well, but
Yeah.
it's a good thing to do nice and steady. And we will guide you if you need to push even more. But
Yeah.
listen, be one with your physio, right?
Yeah.
That's the main thing. It's like
I love that.
you you got to cooperate with any health professional. If
That's
you
right.
don't tell them, they will not know,
Yeah.
right?
That's absolutely right.
And it's like you know how your body is responding best. You know what's going on in your body. I do not know what's going on with your body.
Right.
Like in terms of like what you're feeling, what you're going through,
That's right.
whether it's physically, emotionally. If you don't, uh, give me that information, I won't be able to modify and
Right.
actually treat to the best effectiveness.
Yes. Very
So
true.
be one with your physio.
I like that.
Set goals, like I said it earlier in the program as well. Short-term goals, long-term goals, they go a long way, both physically and mentally. When you achieve those goals and you set something,
Yeah.
you set a target, and you're like, okay, I am going to get here by the end of this time.
Right.
And if I achieve this, when you achieve it, you're
Feels
like,
good.
this is awesome, like I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
And keeping in touch with that is a huge thing, and that helps you emotionally, physically, everything. It just
Everything.
makes you feel better,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
um, and the key is to set long term and short term. So long
Yeah.
term is like if you just set one long term, like I want to
Oh,
get back to sport.
never
Well,
ending.
that takes forever.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you definitely have to do that carefully, short
Yeah.
term and long
Short
term.
term.
Um, and also like you want to make sure you know don't push yourself too much. You have to pace yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Don't do too much. And
At once.
even with exercises, I
Yeah.
prescribe exercises to people. And again, they have the attitude that more is good, more is good.
Right.
And when they do that, then what happens is they burn themselves out. They get out of energy, and they're not able to function as well. So
Mm-hmm.
stick to the plan, listen to your body, respond to it, and respond to your physio, and let them know. Um, it Physio will help you in a lot of ways.
Ways.
It can help you with depression, anxiety,
Mhm.
weakness, mood swings. If you're having weight loss or weight gain,
Right.
loss of muscle strength or loss of muscle size,
Right.
atrophy, you're getting weaker, fatigue. It's like you have to consider all those things.
All of it. Yeah.
So it goes a lot in hand with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, yeah, keeping in mind that there, as you say, like there are so many different things going on. There are lots of layers. It can maybe help with the, being patient and not and not wanting, just keeping in mind, like, there I might feel good, but there's still, a lot of healing that's taking place under the surface. And yeah, you want to be really mindful of that.
Sorry, I can't hear you right now. It's got
Oh,
cut off.
let me turn that. Can you hear me?
Try moving to a different area.
No problem. Hopefully it's not
Yep,
me.
go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. So I think just I think all of that, as we were saying, plays into into being patient. And I think what you said about long-term and short-term goals too, I think having those short-term goals helps you, like you said, be a little more patient, because you can still see the progress, as opposed to just having that one goal way in the future and it feels like it's almost impossible to reach.
Exactly.
Yeah, good things to keep in mind. Okay. So when we were talking earlier before this, you mentioned that physiotherapy plays a role in energy and strength conservation. And I feel like those are important things for people who are going through treatment, and after surgery, because you don't necessarily have as much as much energy or strength. So can you explain that connection between physiotherapy and energy and strength conservation, and why that connection is important?
Well, in terms of functioning, like I mentioned before, if you overexert, you do things too much too soon, it can burn you out and actually make you feel worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's very important to pace yourself, regardless of cancer or no cancer.
Anything else.
With aging, I see this with patients
Very
as well.
true. Yes.
They often get frustrated in terms of how much they can do, and they want to do so much more, but obviously as you age, your capacity reduces.
Yes.
And in order to maintain the capacity, you need to do, again, maintain strength and physiotherapy and do all that. But you need to pace yourself. Pacing will help you conserve energy, make you feel good, and make you do more.
Right.
People often do, like, I'll give you an example. For pacing example, instead of pushing yourself, for example, if you go home, you got to vacuum your house.
Yeah.
Okay. You know your capacity, and you push yourself, and you're like, okay, and you vacuum the whole house, and now you got no energy to do anything else.
It's true.
Okay. But what you can do, instead of doing the whole activity in one shot, do one room at a time. Do one room, take a break, do something else that doesn't require the same muscle use or same sort of activity use.
Right.
So if vacuum is all about shoulder use, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be gardening. It could be anything of shoulder use. If you keep using it for 1 hour like this over and over, you're gonna get fatigued and you get tired, and then your next 3 days are gonna be crappy.
Yeah.
But if you just do one room, that's going to take 5 minutes, then go do another activity, you actually gave it rest.
Right.
And then you can go back to and finish the second room.
And finish it.
Do like that. Sure, it takes longer.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race.
That's right. Slow and steady wins the race. Yeah. And I feel sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I feel like that in particular is really important for cancer patients too, because like you said, with age, capacity reduces, but when you are going through something major like that, your capacity is reduced as well, both your energy and your strength, and maybe even like your mental and emotional capacity as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's, I think, really important to note, because it goes again back to what we were saying. You don't want to overdo it, and slow and steady wins it. So
you have to approach even mentally as well. How much, it's not about just physiotherapy and physical component of it. It's about interaction as well.
Right.
How soon you communicate with people.
Right.
How open are you in terms of telling your stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Very true.
You have to, there's pacing in that as well. You have to conserve your energy, not to openly do too much, right?
Yes.
And do it within your comfort zone, and slowly open up to people.
That's good. Yes, I love that. Yeah, so important. So we may have already, touched on some of this stuff too, but I think when people are starting out at the beginning, I know for me anyway, the prospect of healing from all of this was very daunting, and it did feel like, I'm never going to be able to get back to myself again, my regular self again. So, what advice do you have for people who are in that position, who are like, they're just starting out and they're feeling like, I'm never going to be the way that I was again?
It only gets better from here.
That's really good advice.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of if you put even the little amount of effort and you work at it and you have your
Yes,
positive mindset is key.
absolutely.
You will see, the results of your hard work.
Yeah,
If you do a lot, like even if you put a little bit of effort in anything, you will see the
you
results of
see
it.
it.
You'll see the fruits of it, and it can be a daunting thing. Like
Yeah,
it's just such a whole big process. Um, how will I do this? Like I said earlier, it's
right.
like you get scared. Like you mentioned just
Yeah,
now,
you
it's
do.
like it's a huge procedure.
Mm-hmm.
But if you break it down into small tasks,
Right.
set your goals, work with your uh, work with your
Physio.
peers, work with your family,
Yeah,
get support from them, support from everyone wherever you can get. It makes the transition much easier.
easier. Yeah,
Um, and and honestly, it strength and mobility and rehab and in terms of your function um, after surgery only improves unless there's a very 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 slight chance that you're not going to improve.
right.
But most of the time, if you do something, you'll
Yeah,
get a result for that.
you get a
But
result.
it's a matter of consistency,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And being
yes.
persistent with it. That's it. And the more you stick to it, the better you will be. And even after you're done as well, this one's probably directed towards you.
Yeah.
Maintain the exercises, do them as much as
Uh,
possible. They're only going to make you feel better, right?
yes,
and
it's
and
true.
it's not just the physical stuff that causes all these things. It's the stress,
Yeah,
emotional stuff as well.
very
When
true.
you're more stressed, where do you carry your stress most of the
Oh,
time? In your neck,
right
middle,
here.
like
Yeah,
wrists, right?
yep.
That affects your function as well,
So true.
right? So don't stress about things. Try and find ways to manage stress.
That's
That's
very
very
good
key.
advice.
If you do like meditation or
Yes.
use of good music, um,
Mm-hmm.
um, in working in an environment that makes you more comfortable,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Setting the mood, the lighting, and everything, it
Yeah.
makes a big difference, and it will
Absolutely.
affect your um, return and your physiotherapy as well, and
That's
even in
so
general
interesting.
life. If
Yeah.
you're more comfortable with yourself and your environment, it's going to make rehab much more efficient.
It's excellent advice, and it's so true. And actually, something that I hadn't necessarily made that connection between stress making, because it's true, and especially for breast cancer, which was what we talk about a lot. The shoulders and all of that, as we were saying before, are affected so much by that. So if you're stressed, then that's just going to make any of that worse. Yeah,
As any
which
cancer, any
that yeah,
treatment,
that's
anything,
true.
wherever the area is affected, it doesn't necessarily have to be. uh, Anything can be wherever it's affected tends to seize up. If you have a
Seizes
back
up.
problem, if you injure your back picking up your kid or uh, picking up something heavy from the
Yeah.
ground, a heavy box, you throw out your back, what happens? Your body guards,
Yeah,
it seizes
absolutely.
up.
Seizes up.
So it's just a matter of working that area slowly and controlling the things you can,
The things you can. Yep,
right, and not worrying about the things you can't control.
that's right. That's very good advice. Very good advice. Yeah, because sometimes there is just stuff that is out of our control. Often when it comes to medical stuff, there's things we can't do anything about. So
Yeah, you can't do
stressing
anything
about
about
it
it,
only
so
makes
there's
it
no point in
worse.
worrying about it.
That's
But
right.
you do what you can in terms
Yeah.
of controlling things around it
Right.
to
Yes.
get better.
Yes. I love that. Yes. Control what you can around it. Yeah. I love that. That's great. I did want to ask you before we go, we're almost out of time, but you have quite an active Instagram page, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a bit about like what you post on there, because I found it really interesting. I've never seen a physiotherapist who has such like an active Instagram page. So like, what kinds of stuff do you post on there? If people are interested in following you and learning more about what you do.
Yeah, so basically, I make regular posts on
Mm-hmm.
my Instagram page, which is called t.o.physio.
Yes.
It's also on my Facebook as well. People can follow me there too.
Awesome.
Basically, but it's just general information. I like to give back to the community. I mean,
Yeah.
work aside, is good to help out people that either don't have access to it or can't afford it,
It's
and
very
it's good to
true.
give back to the community. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, people tell me, they're like, oh, why you putting up free information? They be like,
Right.
they're just gonna do that and not come to you. I'm like, no, they're gonna
They
see
still
that
will.
and then come to me and be
It's
like,
so
hey, this guy
true.
actually worked.
Yes. Well,
You can
and
tell
it's
me more.
yeah. Yes, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, and I make regular posts. People comment and they send me a direct message and be like, "Hey, Anish, can you talk about I'm having wrist problems, like you said?" So then I
Right.
wouldn't. uh, Obviously, there's a
Talk
waiting
about it.
list already of people
Yeah, I
just
bet.
who have messaged me, but eventually I will get to them and be like, "Okay, today we're going to be talking about self-management techniques, right?"
Yes.
Um, and I try and do things that you can do around the household or by yourself
That's
that doesn't
great.
require anyone else. So at
Right.
least it's a way of, healing yourself and taking care of
Yeah,
yourself.
that's
That is the
right.
main thing.
That's
I,
right.
I try to empower the patient as much as possible.
Yes.
You
Which
don't
is
want to make
wonderful.
anyone dependent on anyone. That's the
No.
worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
You want to make them independent. You want to make them functional on their own because that's what gives them power to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So I make posts regularly on that,
That's
and
wonderful.
from that, people reach out to me. Um, and it really feels good because you've actually made a change in people that
You
you're
don't
not
even
even
know.
close to. There's
That's
people in
right.
like UK or India or
Which is
wherever. It's just
crazy.
like, they message, oh, this worked, thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
makes you feel better because you're giving
It's so
back to the
good.
community and to the
That's
world. That's good.
right. That's right. And what you give out will come back, right? So it's it doesn't I think it only serves you and everyone else to give this information for free, but just to gift it to people, because the energy you give
Information,
out, it'll comes
again,
back.
information is for sharing, it's for the wealth
That's
of
right.
knowledge. If you
Yeah.
keep it to you, it's useless.
That's right. It's yeah, exactly. Because you have it to help people. So why
You
not
have to
share
help
it?
people, and that's what I
Yeah.
like to do. So I just
That's
make
so
regular posts on
wonderful.
that and just motivational quotes and things like that. It's just simple stuff. It's nothing too fancy, but any way I can help out people, that's the main
Yes.
thing,
That's
and
so
get my
wonderful.
exposure out, and it's been working so far, so
That's great.
i'm,
That's
I'm
wonderful to
happy
hear.
with that.
I just see we did have one question come in quickly before we go. It says, can you tell us a little bit about bad postures which give back pain?
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's a lot of bad
I
postures,
bet.
but now, how we function in ourselves, okay? For example, in our society, we do a lot of sitting. Okay,
Yes.
everything we go like this. We are
Yeah.
on our phone like this.
Yep.
We are on the computer
That's
like
right.
this. We are driving like this.
Like that.
We're
It's so
sitting on the
true.
couch like this.
Yeah.
We're doing everything. Everything is just in a slouch forward protracted position.
So true.
Now, when you maintain a position, there's no correct posture or bad posture. It's about your body and how it responds. But
Hmm.
when we project and we place our body in these extreme positions, over time our body adapts. Like I said to you earlier, our body's very
Yes.
smart
Right.
and it finds ways to adapt
Get
and to
around.
make things easier. Now, if you're always slouched forward like this, automatically your chest is going to get tighter.
True.
Same thing when you go through surgery. Remember this thing?
Yes, that's right.
Chest tighter,
Yeah.
everything. So
Pulled
opening up and
forward.
doing this is much, much harder. Same thing. Well, even if you don't have surgery done, if you maintain this position for a long time, this gets tight, right?
Makes
And
sense.
that affects your shoulder function as well. So if you're forward like
Right.
this, if you pick up your arm, you can only go up to here.
That's
Now, if I
true.
sit up straight like this, I can automatically raise my arm all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when I'm slouched, I can push it and go all the way, but it's
Right.
causing pinching.
Hurts.
And that
Yeah.
constant irritation, because of your posture being like that, can develop into a problem,
Oh,
right?
yes. That's so
So,
interesting.
strengthening your back, opening up, extension as much as possible, taking frequent breaks is very, very important. Getting up from your chair every 30 minutes,
Yeah.
just to open up. Same concept that I explained for the upper body applies to the lower body. When you
Yeah.
sit, you're in a flexed position.
It's very true.
So these become tight. These become
Yeah.
stiff, the lower back.
Yes.
That creates lower back problems as well. So
Oh,
getting
yeah.
up, stretching your hip flexors, straightening out your back, doing
Do
some
it now.
strengthening exercise for your back, very important. Getting
Very
some
important.
mobility, twisting and turning, just simple stuff.
Yeah. Just give it a
Again,
stretch.
movement is
Movement is
medicine.
medicine. I love that.
If you don't move, you're gonna get hurt. right?
Seize up. Yeah.
Seize up.
Yeah.
Movement is life.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true, and I couldn't agree more. Wonderful. All right, well, we have quickly filled 45 minutes. I just want to thank you so much for being here, for speaking with us tonight, sharing your expertise with everyone. It's been really helpful, really interesting. I learned a lot of new stuff. And if anyone would like to work with you, is through Instagram, is that the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, you can message me on Instagram or message me on Facebook, or you can give me a call or at the t.o.physio
Great.
Instagram, and feel free to contact me, or you can give a ring or a message to my phone at 306-502-1403. And
Wonderful.
that is my number. And in terms of treatments, I offer treatments at home. So
Oh, that's
especially
great.
during this COVID situation, I was doing it
Yeah,
before as well. What I do is bring the whole clinic, treatment
that's
table, machines,
amazing.
and everything to your house. And I
Amazing.
do treatments that way, and people are finding it really, really good because
That's fantastic.
one, you don't have to leave your house,
Yeah.
you don't have to commute,
Yep.
and it saves time. And it's
Yeah,
within,
absolutely.
again, is in an area that you're comfortable with in your home setting,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
makes your treatment that much
That
more
much
effective.
easier. That's right. And for people with cancer too, I mean, we're not feeling great. So if you can stay in your house and, you might not be feeling up
Yeah,
for traveling, that's really great. That's great to know. Wonderful.
there's a couple of people that I'm treating right now who are going under radiation
Yeah,
and chemotherapy, and we they don't like to go out as
of
much, and
course.
it suppresses your immune system
Yeah,
and everything. So I take a
especially
lot
right
of
now.
precautions in terms of
Yeah,
sanitizing
right.
everything and coming in and doing the treatment at home, which is
Yeah,
amazing,
it's
and it
wonderful.
just makes it that much more effective.
That's great. That's so fantastic. Great to know
Yeah,
that you do that. That's awesome. Well, thank you once again for being here, and thank you to everyone who is watching. If you'd like to learn more about me and Arenda Cancer Community, you can go to our website at arendablog.ca, or you can find me on Facebook at Arenda Cancer Community FB for Facebook group. And I post extensively about, my experience with integrative cancer care. And we talk about diet and nutrition and a lot about mental and emotional health. And yeah, we'd love to see you there. Come on over. Empowered Live series is, of course, brought to you by Cancer Warrior Canada Foundation. It's an organization, if you don't know already, that works to raise awareness about prevention and early diagnosis. It helps to raise funds for research, and they are helping people right now through COVID with things like food delivery and sanitation products delivery and that kind of thing. So if you or anyone that you know is in need of some help, you can give them a call. You can find them on Facebook and message them through there and contact them through there. And their phone number is at the bottom of the screen right now if you need to contact them for some help. So thank you once again, Anish, for being here. It was really
thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you, and whatever you guys do, is amazing. Bringing everyone, all this, providing information to everyone, and
It's
organizing
important.
this is a big, big deal, and it
Yeah,
helps a
it's
lot
so
of people.
important.
So I really appreciate that, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And thank you, everybody, once again for watching. And tune in. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode. So we'll see you then.
Take care.